Ladies and gents, boys and girls, hello and a very warm welcome to the Aram training channel. If you're a rower, the name Oliver Zeidler probably rings a bell. If you're not a rower, it's one of the most surprising late starters in rowing, you can put it that way. He didn't start to row until he was about 20. Came from swimming, was moderately successful in swimming, by no means world class, but certainly fast. And then went to become a rower. Was born into a family of rowers, actually. His father and grandfather, quite successful rowers, also his sister. But that alone doesn't say anything. It's the potential is there, but the question is what you make of it. And then he within his first 12 months, or first 2 years actually, he managed to win medals at the World Cup. Now, if you're a rower, you know how utopious this idea actually is. But if you're not a rower, let me tell you, this is almost, it's the closest thing to impossible you can imagine. The thing is that the men's single scull is an extremely competitive field. It takes a long time to learn the technique, and it takes a longer time to build the physique you need. Now, Oliver Zeidler's greatest gift is his physique. That is something that is maybe not unmatched in the rowing world, but there are not many people on par with him. That's why he is the fastest on a linear drive erg. And here comes the problem of today's story. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the Henley 2023 final, the Diamond Sculls, and Oliver Zeidler, no surprise, won. Please excuse that I'm not going to focus on our friend from Poland. I'm going to focus on the German. His technique looks weird to many people, and I've already made a video analysis about this race, and I've come to terms with Henley, so they allowed me to use their footage. I would like to thank the Henley Broad Regatta very much for allowing me to use their footage to talk about technique. Super interesting field here. So if you want to watch the full race, I will link it in the description below, and I highly recommend you do this. They spend a lot of time and effort to provide footage like this, and this should be greatly appreciated. By the way, I'm going to personally be at the Henley Royal Regatta 2024 as I'm recording this video. So if you happen to be there, I will be there with the BIOROWER Pro at Barnes Bar. Now back to the topic. Oliver Zeidler has two issues. The first issue is he's too strong. Sounds weird, but I think this is a big issue. And the second thing is he has no feeling for the boat because it didn't start to row when he had little power. So he has too much power for the amount of feeling he has. I hope that makes sense. Now let me elaborate on that and explain why this is the case. Watch the start sequence. Watch Oliver Zeidler's desperate push for connection, blade connection, early blade connection. I'm referring specifically to this. Watch the start, second, third. No, just the second stroke alone, actually. He puts in so much power that the grip on the water simply does not happen quickly enough. He could solve this issue if he used Randall foils. For him, this would be a heaven sent because you need less time to practice these skills. But I'm sure he has improved now towards the Paris Olympics, which are coming up. And he's desperately trying to apply power. Desperately trying to use his greatest gift, which is power and strength and endurance as well, just to make that boat go fast. And the blades just can't grip the water quickly enough. They just can't. Or he's not able to stabilize the blades quickly enough vertically. And I think this is a greater issue. Let me explain why. If you set the blade in the water, the most important thing, just look at this. This is crazy. Watch the blades bumping up and down at the catch. I hope this is visible if I go through it frame by frame. Here, now at the catch. Deep up. These blades are never fully connected. He's overpowering the geometry of the blade. This is nothing unique to Oliver Zeidler. There are many athletes who do this. This shows the big drama if you are too strong for the amount of feeling you were able to develop. Why do coaches recommend you start to row as a kid? Not because adults can't learn how to row. There are many adults who start to row late and they become hugely successful. The thing is, and that's also why it's sometimes easier to coach girls than boys when they're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Boys usually solve every issue with more of the same thing. Now, I'm generalizing here, but I've coached a fair deal of boys and girls, so maybe you coaches out there can relate or disagree with me. Please put it in the comments. I'm very interested in your feedback. And my impression was always that if you coach boys, they try to solve every problem with more power. Doesn't work? I just do it harder. Try it again. Do it harder. But the thing is, it doesn't work. Girls usually are more socially interactive and they try to sense what's going on, and then they do a bit more. Their main self, they don't see themselves so much as raw power, hardship-driven things like boys do. A boy tries to be strong. Why? Because usually the physically early developers, so boys who tend to develop rapidly when they are little, let's say 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old in their teenage years, they tend to be considered talents. All that's going on is that they seem to have a fair share of hormones at an earlier stage in life, so their muscular development simply happens earlier. Ultimately, most boys will have caught up by the age of mid-20. Now, the reason for, let's put it the other way. I didn't read it. Maybe you can contradict that or support that. In one of the coaches courses I took, I heard of a study of the German Bundesliga, so the highest football, or you guys in America, soccer league in Germany, that the vast majority of professional soccer players in the Bundesliga in Germany are not the so-called talents and early developers, the accelerated physical developers. They're usually the slow physical developers. Two things. A, they need to learn to work hard without having immediate reward. That's probably one of the most important skills any person can learn on this earth. The second thing is that if you have to deal with less brute force, you have to develop a better feeling, which is a gift. It's not a sacrifice, it's a gift. And that's exactly what Oliver Zeidler is missing. What do you do if you start to row being stronger than most other people in the field? He is strong. Physically, he's strong. But being strong and fast on a linear drive erg does not correspond with being strong and fast in a boat. They say linear ergs don't float, and that's true. They don't, because it requires a complete different way of rowing. The motion is a different one. You move yourself in that boat. And this is exactly what we see here at the start. Zeidler is just planting his blade into the water, and he's not waiting for the connection. Now, a couple of minutes into that video, 9 minutes to be precise, and I'm coming to explain what we actually need. What you need when you put the blade in the water. Let's say my hand is the blade and this hand is the water level. What you want to do at the catch is put the blade in the water so that it rests vertically as soon as possible. That's essentially everything the Rendell foil does, because it's nothing but a lip on top, so it prevents the blade from going too deep. You can only connect properly if the blade doesn't go up and down. But if you spend a lot of effort just to hammer the blade in because you're in panic mode, like here, that blade will swim up. And every time that blade goes up and down, you are losing connection. And that's Oliver Zeidler's main problem. If we rode with Rendell foils, that problem would be solved. The thing is that you have to calm the blade down as soon as possible. A lot of coaches say you need to have a quick catch, and that is true. But you don't achieve a quick catch by moving quickly, and that's the big paradox. So when I coach people, and I will have my rowing camp next week in Budapest, so everybody who's on board, I'm looking forward to work with you. There are actually people from all over the world coming to Budapest next week. It's going to be awesome. What I coach is a direct catch, not a quick catch. Direct catch means you are able to calm the blade as soon as possible in the water. But there are two components. The first component is the blade. Rendell foil solves it. Or great feeling solves it too. But that's rare, especially in race pace. The other issue is the body. How do you place your body? And there are usually two weak links. And when I'm done recording this video, I will go down to the BIOROWER workflow and show you on a BIOROWER, that's all I have here, how this works from a body perspective. Because you need to be able to stabilize your shoulders and your pelvis region as soon as possible. And if you add two weak links in there, you've got an issue, because then your hands will be driven up. And the harder you drive with the legs, the worse the problem will become. And if you look at Zeidler's technique, that's pretty much exactly what's happening. The only reason why he's able to relax a bit here is because he's in the lead and he knows he can draw from strength later throughout the race. So for him, I think the most scary phase is to start and then trying to distance himself. But when it's about distancing himself, he's already got enough experience to understand that there are not many people who can keep up with him when it comes to pace. Now, as the race continues, by the way, this is a very interesting sequence here. We've got the Polish, who's essentially cutting the stroke short, trying to keep up with Zeidler by trying to keep the rate up by cutting the stroke short. And we've got Zeidler panicking to get all his power into the boat. Both athletes a bit in a concern mode, let's put it that way. But it's understandable. I mean, it's Henley final. This is where we can see Zeidler in relax mode. It's part of the etiquette at Henley not to distance yourself so far from your competition, so you would embarrass your competition. That's part of good sportsmanship at Henley. I'm not sure if this is actually a rule, but it's, as far as I'm informed, it's not regarded very highly if you demolish your position completely. After all, it's an old English traditional regatta, so there are certain rules of politeness and etiquette, and I personally appreciate that quite a bit. Now, if we look at Zeidler's relaxed rowing technique, and this is far from going full for him, you can see that he's got a massive weak point in his body. And that massive weak point is the back, this. And my guess is, my humble guess, is that he will have a herniated disc here. I hope after the Olympics. I hope when he stopped rowing. But if he's not able to control his body better and to control the deep muscles better, there will be an issue. And that's the next issue I see with Oliver Zeidler. As he started to row late, I know he came from swimming, and in swimming you develop deep muscles quite well. But deep muscles for rowing, that's a different thing. Muscle memory patterns have to be laid over the course of years. The issue is if your superficial muscles are so strong that they overpower the deep muscles on a frequent basis, you end up with a torso that is positioned like that. In a couple of shorts I recently put on YouTube, I refer to the importance of deep muscle training. If you look at the human body, our core is deprived of bones. So this section here, yes, we got the sternum, we got the rib cage, and we got the spine, but then we're done. And that part is supposed to transfer everything your legs can transfer. I'm not sure if that's so easily possible, because your legs easily overpower the rest. When I was a junior under 23 athlete, I emphasized on my legs because I was coached, you need strong legs. Okay, so what did I do? I made my legs as strong as I could possibly make them strong. Now this injured my back tremendously. Still today, I'm 41 years old now. I recently did leg press with 425 kilos. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying that there is no way on earth that I could do 425 kilos deadlift. I just can't. This is way above me. So how much sense would it make for me personally to go full load with my legs? None at all. None at all. It would break my back. And the thing is, this ratio that I've got is a ratio that almost everybody has got. I'm pretty sure Oliver Zeidler has significantly stronger legs than torso strength. That is for a simple reason. That's the way we transfer force. Sorry if this video is getting lengthy, but I will cut it into shorts and publish it anyway, so you can get the snippets you need later on. The best thing is to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I think YouTube shows it when I put these shorts online. We transfer force here through the legs into the hip joint. And that mostly happens with superficial muscles. Now, if you know a bit about muscles, deep muscles are usually there to provide stability. They're not easily to be triggered voluntarily. They have a different job. While superficial muscles are muscles we use for dedicated motion appliance. So if I want to extend my leg, I will use my quads, for example. So if we focus on superficial muscles of the legs, that's very easy for us to contract them and to activate them. Same with our arms. Everybody likes to flex their biceps and triceps, especially the boys. And look at me, my biceps. We don't need much of that for rowing, but again, these are superficial muscles, easy to contract. When we talk about the core is deprived of bones, but it has a great density of deep muscles, which could replace the bone structure. Could, if you know how to trigger them. If you can't trigger them voluntarily, you need to use metaphors. That's what I said in one of the last shorts I just published this week. Problem is, if you only focus on your superficial muscles and you never focus on building the right ideas, mindsets, motion patterns, how to activate your deep muscles, your core is left to its own devices and naturally will not be prepared. If you only focus on legs more than to solve every problem with more legs, and that's unfortunately still a dogma, you have to use more legs at the catch and a hard leg drive and a quick catch. What happens and what you end up with is precisely the position we see here. That's the main reason. That's, for example, why my training programs, I write for Olympic athletes and masters and juniors, everybody I work with online and also here on site in Vienna, I put a lot of weight training in there that actually triggers the deep muscles. Quite often in a hidden way, but it's always included. I've recently put out a video, the 3 most important strength exercises for rowing. And one of them, for example, was a front deep squat with a barbell here on your shoulder. Not this way, because it forces you to use your core in a much different way. And it also makes it almost impossible to hurt your back, almost. Everybody can hurt their back if they want to. So that is, in my humble opinion, the most important thing you can do in the gym when you're not in a boat. Strengthen the deep muscle chains. And I fear for Oliver that his back may possibly give in when he can need it the least. Because an athlete who's so strong and who's set a number of erg records, linear drive erg records, has hurt himself quite a bit already. And I see danger of injury for this guy. Please contradict me if I'm wrong. But I sincerely hope I'm not wrong. I wish him all the best for Paris. He's worked very hard for the Olympics in Tokyo. It didn't work out for him because of the weather, and I think he's very much weather receptive because of his technique, and I will talk about this in a moment. And I hope that Paris works out for him. I'm not too sure if that race course just outside of Paris is a dedicated still on flat water course. I was in Mont-la-Jolie 11 years ago, and it wasn't super flat. It also wasn't super choppy, but it was a bit like Tokyo, if I'm not mistaken. But correct me if I'm wrong. So let's talk about the issue that Zeidler has with bad weather or choppy conditions. And that has mostly to do with the way he gets the blade into the water. Let's just go back and watch how, with which body motion he gets the blades into the water and how quickly they are vertically stabilized. Not at all. If you look closely, look at the shaft. Let him come a bit closer. And now, look at this part here. Goes in and immediately just tries to raise his arms alone, but his back is not supported enough. You see, the low section of the back is actually leaning backwards. There is a massive bend. I haven't seen a bend as massive as this one in a long time. So here's a weak point. There is no significant muscle that would allow you to create a massive motion around there, because most of the muscles you have in the core are not designed to create motion. They are designed to withstand twisting and torsion, if that makes sense. So therefore, these muscles are massively overwhelmed, and that's not a position you voluntarily would get into. You know, talk to any physician, any doctor, any physiotherapist. They would never, ever, ever allow you to sit this way. Now, if you don't just sit this way, but you push as hard as you can with your legs and hold on to as much resistance as you can grab with your hands, what do you think is going to happen? Pop goes the disc relatively quickly, and I hope not too soon. So the problem is that there's a weak point. His shoulders are nicely positioned. There's nothing you can say about that. This is why it looks okay. But because he's so power driven, this is a weak point, and that's the thing where his arms are lifted. So let's play this frame by frame. Now his blades, you see this going into deep. Down, 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 and back up. There's you see the white stuff there. There's so much blade slip, so much slip on the blade throughout the entire drive that he's wasting a lot of energy just getting the blades in and out and in and out again, and it's still fast. I would wonder how fast he could be if he focused on the deep muscles and he focused on blade stability throughout the drive. I think he could set a new world best time, which is 6:30 right now. Robbie Manson said it in wonderful style in Poznan in Poland. Unfortunately, I can't use FISA footage, even if it's on YouTube. I asked him how much they charge for it, never got a reply. So maybe if you're in FISA and you see that, I have a good agreement with Henley. I do this for free on YouTube so that the community benefits from it. So maybe you could grant me access to the stuff you have on YouTube so I can do the same thing. I think it would be greatly appreciated. The problem is that his blades enter the water with too much power already. Starts the leg drive, and he's in full engagement mode now. And you have to consider this is going easy for him because he's way ahead, has to make sure he's not stretching out too far. So if this is his high steady state pace, you can imagine how hard it is on his body when he's going full send. The problem here is that he needs pretty stable water conditions on both sides. That's my point. And if you don't have stable water conditions both sides symmetrically, because it's choppy conditions and the waves don't happen to be the same left and right, then you enter the blade asymmetrically. And if you depend on your blades to grant stability because you hammer them in, because you're not conditioned to have light hands and all the weight on the seat by making your inner torso long, then the slightest bit of choppy conditions will offset you as a whole, your entire body. Imagine you hold on to something and that something you hold on to is unstable, and at the same time is asymmetrical. So it's not the same left and right, and every stroke is different. This has to offset you. And that's the reason why some people can deal with rough conditions, because they're light on their hands at the catch and some people cannot. But I will explain that just in a minute on the BIOROWER. So the problem is the following one. You come to the catch and then you add weak points. So if you're weak around the pelvis, your hand's going to be driven up. If you're weak around your shoulders, because you can't fix them, your hands are going to go up. And that's exactly the problem that there is at the catch. So the most important thing you can do is try to pull your ventral chain long, so the front of your torso. So what I'm doing with my athletes right now, especially in the Saturday classes, say, okay, try to push yourself off the seat, not with your feet, but you do this with an internal rotation of your pelvis. And that helps to trigger the deep muscles tremendously. And then as you come to the catch, you have to do the same thing again. You have to make sure you push yourself off the seat. And that triggers the deep muscles so well that here, you're fully anchored. The issue is if you don't do this and you add multiple weak spots around your core, because there isn't a bone structure you can use, then your hands will go up. And if they go up, you create slip on the outside. And if you create slip on the outside, you don't have the same grip. And that's why the catch takes patience. Trying to be quick at the catch is the wrong solution. Trying to be direct at the catch is the right solution. This is, if you look at long-time experienced rowers, they manage to take the catch so slowly, but the boat immediately starts to move. And that's precisely what you need. It's your ability to bring your hands to a standstill, vertical standstill, here. There's much more to be said, much more. And I hope that Zeidler gets the success he's looking for in Paris. I sincerely hope that. Right now, I think he's in a good path. And if the conditions allow, and I'm sure he has improved his technique quite a bit. I'm pretty sure they work very hard, and also his father does it with him. I hope that this works out for him. Ladies and gents, if you want to work with me, go to aramtraining.com. This is where you find all the programs. And if you want to learn more about the BIOROWER, go to BIOROWER.com. By the way, I will be at the Hindley Royal Regatta 2024 with 2 BIOROWER Pros where you can try them out. I think it's going to be at Barnes Bar. And for me, it's my first time being at Hindley. I'm very much looking forward to that. Until then, have a very good day and thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.